For the first time in school history, the Indiana Hoosiers will play in the official national championship game for college football after absolutely spanking the Oregon Ducks in the semis.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day and the number one sports podcasting network in the world. And speaking of number one, how about them Indiana Hoosiers, baby? They take down Oregon in dominating fashion again. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can touch this Indiana Hoosiers team. They walk into the Peach Bowl, they take over the place with Indiana fans, and just absolutely spank Oregon around for 4 quarters, and we're heading to the national championship game. This is a live edition of Locked On Hoosiers, so thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. This is a historic night. And Indiana, for the, 5th time this season, has won the biggest game in program history. And they do it with an absolute dominance, beatdown, whatever adjective and word you want to throw in there, 56-22. And for us that watched it, we know it wasn't even that close. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here. Voice is struggling a little bit. We're getting back into the radio broadcasting, podcasting season right now. Had some games earlier this afternoon that I called, so bear with me on that. But oh my goodness. How many times have we said that on these live shows? How many times have people counted out the Hoosiers? How many times have people said, nah, this is it. This is the game they go down. This is the one where they're going to slip up. That Oregon team, it's hard to beat a team twice, right, guys? Not today, it wasn't. Indiana proves they are the best team in college football. It might be one of the best stories we've ever seen. More on that when we talk about the national championship game. We'll talk about that matchup, do a quick preview here tonight about what Indiana and Miami could become on Monday, January 19th. You already know we're going to do our favorite segment of likes and dislikes, but this is... It makes me speechless. The broadcasters were speechless. Fans are speechless from both sides and across the country. People cannot fathom what they're seeing with their eyes. And if you didn't see it, right, with your 2 eyeballs, or hear it with your ears, or a little bit of everything, you simply wouldn't believe it. That Indiana just dismantles another P4 team. They dismantle a conference foe in the college football playoff semifinals. This is not supposed to happen. And yet Indiana continues to show up. They bring their lunch pail, and they just take it to you for 4 quarters. Indiana is the best team in the country, and they will be favored against Miami in the national championship game. And so much for our score predictions, man. Me and my buddy Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks, we both said low scoring, tight game, Indiana pulls it out in the end. We both said that. We both felt good about that. Nobody had Indiana dropping a 56 burger on Oregon in the semifinals. Are you kidding me? 56 points offensively. And let's just be real. You held them to 1 or 2 touchdowns in this game at all. One real touchdown. You scored one right in the second half and got the 2-point conversion, and then you scored there late. Whatever. Oregon was punting the football away at halfway through the 3rd quarter and to start the 4th quarter. They gave up. They were done. They were absolutely done. And Indiana ripped the soul out of the Oregon Ducks, which I just didn't think was possible. Dan Lanning's a hell of a coach. That's a great team. Dante Moore is a fantastic quarterback. That defense is legit. They've got NFL dudes all over the place. And Indiana said, yeah, we don't care. We're good. We'll do what we do, and we'll just absolutely destroy you for 4 quarters. I have a whole list of things that I want to talk about on this live show. Drop your thoughts in the YouTube comments, man. We'll be here as long as we need to for one of the greatest nights we've ever seen in the history of college football. One of the greatest nights we've ever seen in the history of Indiana athletics. Job not done. Okay, job not done. And we know that Curt Cignetti is going to preach that in the locker room and until the Monday, January 19th national championship game rolls around. But Indiana's in the Natty for the first time. Now, I know they played in the Rose Bowl in 1967, right, when they shared the Big Ten title. They got there and played USC. But this is the first time Indiana has played in the official branded national championship game. And you have a legitimate chance to win it all. And so I want to go through the stats of this game. I want to go through the trends of this game. I want to go through just the history that was made in this game, including Fernando Mendoza in his passing line with his incompletions and his passing touchdowns, the rushing yards, which were just completely lopsided by Indiana, the manhandling up front on the offensive and defensive lines for the Hoosiers, and big play after big play after big play. And you got to start. I mean, maybe the greatest start in the history of a college football playoff game was D'Angelo Ponds. And wasn't it so movie-like? Wasn't it so cinematic that it was D'Angelo Ponds, a guy who has been with Cignetti since day one? Since D'Angelo got to college, he was a Curt Cignetti guy. He comes from James Madison. He makes himself an All-American corner. He's the leader of the secondary of this team. And he got to return the favor. He got to return the favor to Dante Moore, who rears back, finds 5 in red, and he's gone to the end zone for a pick 6. Oh, my heart was so happy. And it was like, oh my God, this is it. It's over, right? Vince Carter, over, done, shut it down. Let's go home. Not really. It felt that way for a minute, but you knew there was a lot of ball game left. But what a way to start. You physically couldn't have asked a genie, right, rub the lamp and say, what's your wish? I'd like to start the best way possible. This wouldn't have been the way to do it. That's not what I would have said. I would have said, yeah, get a 3 and out and get the football to Fernando Mendoza. If Oregon takes the ball, get a 3 and out, get the Hoosier offense out there. That's what I would have said. But nah, Indiana's defense said, we got you. We got you guys. Let's give ourselves a little buffer here. Let's give ourselves a little head start. And D'Angelo Ponds makes a hell of a play, picks it off, takes it to the end zone, and all is forgiven for Fernando Mendoza for throwing a pick 6 the first time against the Oregon Ducks. So you're up 7-0, and it's like, all right, well, let's see what Oregon can do. And they responded in a big way. Oregon goes right down the field like a knife through butter. Indiana's defense had miscommunications. They had some missed assignments. They had some missed plays, and Oregon goes right down and takes advantage. Indiana goes up 7-0 on the pick 6. It's then 7-7 after Oregon goes down the field, 14 plays, 75 yards in almost 8 minutes of time. First quarter's basically over at that point. And then Indiana does it. Indiana said, that was cool. Watch this. And they go 11 plays in 75 yards in 6.5 minutes. And Indiana responds with a touchdown of their own. At that point, right, I'm texting with some people, and it's like, man, so much for our under, so much for our defensive fight. Let's just see who can score more points. But after that, the Indiana defense locked in. Indiana defense said, yeah, that's enough of that. And they got after it. They got after Dante Moore, sacked him 3 times tonight. They shut down Oregon in the run game like I couldn't even imagine. 93 rushing yards for Oregon tonight. 93. And I understand they had injuries. I get it. I absolutely do. I get it. But to just stop them in their tracks with one of those being a massive play. One of those being a massive play. Let's not forget that, right? Let's not forget the idea, okay, that Oregon had as a team 93 rushing yards. 71 of those came on one play. Indiana came to play. The defensive line came to play. Dante Moore was fine. He played okay after the pick 6, but he was never going to be the same. 285 and 2 touchdowns. But man, Indiana said, we're going to man up and just be stronger than you, be more physical than you, and just flat out be better than you. For an offensive line that looked solid against Texas Tech, Indiana wasn't worried. The Hoosiers went to work and just manhandled them for 4 quarters. Okay. So Indiana dominates the running game, right? Held Oregon to 93. Hoosiers ran for 185. Ran for 185 in a group effort tonight, running the football Kaelon Black, 63 yards. How about Roman Hemby for 53? How about Kobe Martin down the stretch with 42 as well? He looks solid. All right, Indiana wins the rushing battle, like we talked about. Passing yards, whatever. Most of those were garbage time for Dante Moore anyway. Right? You do everything you need to do. And at the end of the day, what did you do? You handed it off. Or I guess you snapped it to your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You let Fernando Mendoza show the world again for the 8th time, 9th time, 10th time this year that he's the best damn player in the country. He's the best quarterback that Indiana's ever seen, and he'll go down as one of the best college quarterbacks we've ever seen. Folks, they're already comparing Indiana to the 2019 LSU team. That's what they're comparing it to. I'm not going that far yet because the job's not done. There's still work to do. But when your quarterback in the college football playoff semifinals steps in against a top 5 defense in the nation, goes 17 of 20, 177 yards, 5 tutties, 0 interceptions. Folks, you realize that's an 85% completion percentage? You realize that he upped his passer rating from the Alabama game to this game? He was better statistically in this game than he was against Alabama. 5 passing touchdowns for Fernando Mendoza, 2 rushing touchdowns for Kaelon Black, and the 8th touchdown being the very first one on the pick 6. Indiana scored 8 touchdowns against the Oregon Ducks, 7 of them offensively. We've never seen performances like this. We've never seen history be made like this in front of our eyes. It's truly incredible to watch. And so pick a moment, pick a player, pick a unit. It doesn't matter. Indiana won. They won the matchup in every way. Every single way. They won it. You want to pick Indiana's linebackers? Cool. They got after it. Stopped the run, plugged the hole, got after Dante Moore, did their job. You want to pick the running backs? Cool. Indiana ran all over them. Oregon couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop a toddler tonight. Pick the quarterback. That's an easy one. Pick the coaching job. That's an easy one. Pick the receivers. That's an easy one. You threw 5 touchdowns tonight. Did Fernando Mendoza, 2 to Sarratt, 1 to Cooper, 1 to Becker, 1 to EJ Williams. All of them were fantastic. The first one to Sarratt was as bad as Indiana as it comes. The one to Cooper was phenomenal. Becker makes the plays like he does. Some injury scares there that we'll talk about. EJ Williams made a heck of a play as well. Like, what more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? And even a team like Indiana, right, when something goes wrong, it somehow turns out right. And you know exactly what play I'm talking about. When something you think is about to go wrong, and then it's like, oh, wow, how about that? Indiana somehow turned it into a positive. 2 fumbles tonight, and you count them both back, including the Fernando Mendoza one, where the helmet just popped that football. And don't worry, there's an offensive lineman to jump on it. It's fine. Indiana wins 56-22. And I hope Hoosier fans are celebrating tonight. I hope you are just so obnoxious and loud and proud and doing whatever it is that makes you happy tonight. Because history was made once again, but the job is not done. We talk more about Indiana's absolute spanking of Oregon in the Peach Bowl, in the college football playoff semifinal. They're moving on to the national championship game. We'll talk about that, plus a little bit of a preview of that Miami game as well, and our favorite likes and dislikes. All that coming up on this live edition of Locked On Hoosiers. This live edition of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, which we have one tomorrow and Sunday and Monday, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like the most. You can open your profit boost pack first thing in the morning on game day and see what boosts that you want to apply. And with that, they give you more juice to the bets that you already like. So if you like something coming up tomorrow in the NFL, use these boost packs and you can get even more with FanDuel. Make your picks and apply your profit boost to go even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. Visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day this season. All right, we're back here on this live edition of Locked On Hoosiers as Indiana takes down the Oregon Ducks 56-22. They continue what is just an incredible run, a magical run, a historical run in the 25-26 college football season. But I want to stop right there for a second because I thought about that as I was preparing to go live and just enjoying the second half that it was. And I thought about that. And I said, this isn't a run. This isn't a run. When I think of a run, okay, I think of a run like in March Madness in the NCAA tournament. I think of a Cinderella story. I think of a team getting hot over a week or two span. Folks, this is not a run. This is not a trend. This is not something that's here now and gone later. This is a beast. This is a juggernaut. This is a machine. You don't just build it overnight, right? This isn't just created with, some fancy other machine and it just pops out and works perfectly from yesterday to today. This took time. This took a process. This took hard work. Took money too, funny enough. And Indiana has built something that I don't know if it can be stopped. And if the Hoosiers cap this thing off by winning a national championship, we'll talk about this as the greatest season of all time. We have to get there first. We have to get there first. More on that in a moment. But my point to this is not a fun run by the Indiana Hoosiers. This is legit. This is just something we've never seen in the history of college football, ever in the history of our sport. Do you understand what Indiana's doing here? Do you understand that Indiana beat Illinois, who was a top 10 team to start the season? They beat them 63-10. Do you understand that Indiana went on the road to Oregon in the middle of the season and beat them by 10? Do you understand that Indiana beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, who is seen as the biggest and baddest brand in the country? Do you understand that Indiana embarrassed Alabama in the Rose Bowl 38-3 on national television and then doubled down and did it again to Oregon? That's a long plane ride back to Eugene for Dan Lanning and the Ducks, licking their wounds, and they got a lot of them tonight. That doesn't just happen. This isn't a team that just lucked in to a hot stretch. This is a well-oiled machine, and it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Our friend Brian Smith always talks about, the host of the Portal podcast, how Indiana is the greatest evaluator of talent in the portal that he's ever seen. And that showed again tonight. You know the stat by now. Indiana has 0 5-stars. 0. They have none. But they don't care. They don't care. They go get guys that are good. They go get guys that are proven. They go get guys that will fit their system. You don't just luck into this. You don't just luck into doing things the right way. You don't just luck into beating Ohio State, Alabama, and Oregon. 3 of the biggest brands of the sport in the last decade plus. Even longer than that if you talk Alabama and Ohio State. You don't just run into that and, that was a fun couple weeks. No. This is not a run. Indiana's building something special. Indiana has a chance to win its first ever national championship in college football for a program that when Cignetti took over held more losses in FBS play than any program in the country. And they're building it to be here for a long, long time. With NIL and the transfer portal, the SEC is mad. Other Big Ten teams are mad. Everybody across college football is mad because they can't repeat what the Hoosiers are doing. But you should be proud. You should be really, really proud if you're a Hoosier tonight of what has been built in a short amount of time with the greatest coach in the country, Curt Cignetti. Want to dive into some more of this here. Again, drop your thoughts in the YouTube comments. I see them. I'm going to get to them, to as many of them as I can as we go. I also want to go into, I have it written down so I don't forget it. I want to go into the idea that there are a bunch of benchmarks this season. There's a bunch of stopping points. There's a bunch of I don't know what to call. I guess benchmarks is the word that I came up with, but there's a lot of points and times in the season where you can pause. It's like watching a big, long YouTube video or a film, right? You can pause it and say, all right, this is probably an important moment. We have a lot of those for Indiana so far this year. And we could have one more if they beat Miami in a couple of weeks. But we're going to get to the comments in just a little bit. But, I mean, pick a player. We can get into likes and dislikes. Let's run. Let's do it. We'll talk Miami in just a little bit. Let's do likes and dislikes right now. Drop them in the YouTube comments. You know how this goes. Let's do it. Rapid fire. Who do you want to pick? What player do you want to pick for Indiana? I mean, I've never seen stat lines like this in a college football playoff semifinal, in a playoff game, or in any sort of big-time matchup like this. I've never seen it. Ever. In my near 26 years of life. Ever. This does not happen. All right, we talked about Fernando Mendoza. Gotta love him. 17 of 20, 177 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Makes it look easy. Makes it look like he's tossing around the football on Thanksgiving afternoon in the backyard, man. He's not fazed. And I hope that carries him into the NFL, and I hope he can continue to do that. But, my God. I mean, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in college football. Let's look at the receivers. Let's highlight them for a little bit. Big light there, huh? Elijah Sarratt. In previewing this game leading up to it, I talked about the idea that Oregon would shut down Elijah Sarratt. Maybe not shut him down, but they would definitely limit him, especially with who was playing him in corner, right? And I hate that about Oregon. That's a dislike really quickly, is the injuries that Oregon stacked up. You had some things there that obviously they had to deal with, but Elijah Sarratt still got his, man. Can we put some respect on his name, right? Respect Elijah Sarratt, who just proved tonight he's the best receiver in college football. 7 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Averaged almost 11 yards per grab tonight and just could not be stopped. Against one of the best secondaries in the nation, guys who are playing on Sundays, and he just tore them up, man. Omar Cooper wasn't as big of a night as I was thinking it would be, but still grabbed a magical touchdown. His hands are like glue, man. I think he put some honey on him before he goes out there. Love seeing that from him. Charlie Becker, 2 catches, 48 yards, had the magical touchdown as well. Of course, had the injury there. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt us. Thankfully, you got a couple of weeks. Was able to kind of walk it off and such. I know he went into the tent, came back out and things. And so very scary moment for Charlie Becker. Could have been a whole lot worse for him. So we hope that he's okay, but he still made his impact, of course. Riley Nowakowski, not as big as I thought he was going to be, but that's fine. EJ Williams, 1 grab, 13 yards, and a beautiful touchdown. Can't ask for more than that from EJ Williams. So all the receivers did what they were supposed to do. And then, as I mentioned, running the football. It's the start. Everybody that's asked me leading into this game, they said, what does Indiana have to do? What do they need to do differently? What do they have to like? And I said, run the ball, run the football, rely on the, top 3 running back duo in the nation of Roman Hemby and Kaelon Black. Rely on them, lean on them, use them to your advantage. Like I told Spencer in one of our crossover episodes, I said, I don't care if Oregon stops it. I don't care if you go 3 and out running the football up the middle and it doesn't work. Keep going. Keep doing it. Because Oregon cannot stop you. Indiana's offensive line was grabbing them and throwing them around. And what an improvement. Talk about a like. My gosh. The improvement of the Indiana offensive line from the start of the season to the end of the season. They weren't bad to start the season, but now they're one of the best units in the country. And you've heard me say that about just about everybody, but guess what? It's true. It's true. And so you relied on your running game with Roman Hemby and Kaelon Black. And my reasoning behind that going into the game, I said, take the pressure off of Fernando Mendoza. Folks, when's the last time you've heard stat lines from a winning quarterback where you put up 56 points where the guy threw the football 20 times? 20 times. That's it. It's because you ran the ball so well. You threw it when you had to. You threw it when you needed to, and no more. That's what makes Indiana special. And I saw somebody in here just kind of peeking through the comments. We're going to get to more of these. Still haven't figured out that Indiana makes good teams look bad, or how they make good teams look bad. I don't know. There's no words for it. For a guy that speaks for a living, there are no words for the pure, you're just better. I don't know. You're just better at everything. At everything. You're just better. You don't turn the ball over. You don't get a whole lot of penalties. That was better tonight. Officiating, horrible in the second half, by the way. Talk about a dislike. My God. Horrible. Okay. But you don't turn the ball over. You don't hurt yourself. You don't mess up. You barely miss plays. You barely miss tackles. You barely have miscommunications. And even on the times that you do, even on the times that Indiana does screw up, which you can count on one hand, right, in any given game, every single time the Hoosiers screw up, they make up for it. They bounce back. It's like it never happened. They got the Men in Black pin, and they're like, all right, look here, ready, 3, 2, boom, and they flash themselves, and they forget it ever happened. And they just keep playing. Dude, that's mental toughness, man. That doesn't happen. But yet Indiana finds a way to do it. I've never seen a team execute the way that they do. I've never seen a team play as hard as we do. I've never seen a team so connected in all facets of the game at every single position as we are for this Indiana team. It's special, man. It's really, really special. And so likes and dislikes, again, keep dropping them in there. Yeah, I mean, you could pick anything. You really, really could. The offense was great. Defense may have been even better. And that was what was surprising to me, was that Oregon's defense just had no answer, no response. And by the time it was kind of out of hand, they were just hands up, we're done, wave the white flag, we're out of here. Like, I'm not saying they gave up, because I don't think they did, but they had nothing. They were outmatched and they knew it. That's what's crazy here. Unbelievable stuff, man. Indiana wins 56-22. Drop your thoughts in the YouTube comments. We're going to talk about the Miami game coming up in just a minute. We won't do a whole big in-depth segment tonight, but we will at least preview it just a little bit. Tons of you in here. We got 300 plus hanging out here in this Locked On Hoosiers live stream. Be sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're new here, check us out. We got a ton of stuff going on with now previewing the national championship game for the next 20 days? No, 10 days. Wow, math, hard on a Friday night. 10 days, so about a week and a half or so that we're going to be previewing here on the channel, plus a bunch of transfer portal news. And my goodness, here we are again. Indiana's got another week of practice and preparation they got to deal with, and the transfer portal at the same time. It's a blessing. Believe me, it's a blessing. But it's still difficult for Indiana to do. They've brought in some good portal guys so far. But all of that is going to be here on Locked On Hoosiers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're following or you're listening to this later on in your audio podcasting platforms, follow us on there as well. This is phenomenal. Ducks fried and Sig rides. I'd say Ducks fried and Sig's, I don't know, lit. I don't know. I love it. I absolutely love it. Build Sig the statue already. Yeah, he's getting paid enough. He can donate some of that contract, right? Just donate some of that money you're making and build yourself a statue. No, Indiana will have something for him when all is said and done. And think about this too. This just hit me again. And we talked about this with Spencer on, I think, today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. The coordinator difference. Look at the performance of the team with two coordinators that are locked down for years to come, that are getting paid and aren't leaving anywhere. Look at the difference. Oregon's coordinators, they're gone. Brother, they gave up. In the fourth quarter, they were already getting their plane ride. Will Stein's finding the quickest plane to Lexington he can get on. He had a private jet set up from Atlanta to Lexington ready to go in the fourth quarter. Like, he's on his way. He's gone. He's gone. And we talked about how there has to be some sort of a factor. There has to be some sort of an impact of the coordinators leaving for one team and signing extensions with the other. I think you saw that tonight. I think you see that in a 56-22 win. I think you see there was an impact. Was it everything? No, but it was a big deal. And how about Indiana? I see this comment, SEC crying, Big Ten getting it done. Yeah, it may have been a crime. That may have been illegal, what Indiana just did in some countries tonight, to not only pick apart a team like Oregon, But to do it to your own conference like that, is that considered like cannibalism or something like that? It shouldn't be allowed. And I hate that. Look, I hate that Indiana had to play a Big Ten team in the semi. I wish, heck, especially now seeing the score, I wish we could play Oregon for the national championship game. But now Indiana gets to be the representative. Now Indiana gets to be the team that continues the streak or tries to continue the streak of the Big Ten winning its third straight national championship. Not only will the SEC not win one for the third year in a row, ladies and gentlemen, they won't even play for one for the third year in a row. They can't stand it. They can't stand it. And it's so funny, man. I absolutely love it. Keep dropping your thoughts in the YouTube comments in here. Again, I'm trying to get to these. I saw this. Alabama feeling a bit better about themselves. I saw somebody say right before we went live that the biggest winner tonight is not Indiana, it's Alabama. I think that's probably right. I think are there any Alabama fans in here? You guys all right? You feeling okay? Like, did this make you feel a little bit better? Does this make up for it at all? Or are you just ready to fire Kaelon DeBoer, buddy of mine, fellow host on the Locked On Podcast Network, Roman Tomashov, host of Locked On Huskies for the University of Washington, sent me a tweet just now. Says, Indiana killing Oregon after beating Alabama is a debt that this Washington Husky will never be able to repay. Love it. Yeah, Washington fans are pretty happy after just spanking Alabama and Kaelon DeBoer and then turning around and beating their biggest rival in Oregon twice in the same season, by the way. So that's awesome. Yeah, recruiting 2027 in the transfer portal. Great point by Javon here. Indiana, I mean, they're going to be the king. They will be the king of recruiting, the king of the transfer portal. If they weren't already, which I think they're pretty darn close, this will do it. Cannot wait to talk to our man Brian Smith of the Portal Podcast to see what the recruiting bump is by doing what you're doing. Not just the end result, but the whole way through, the whole process, right? The whole movie, not just the ending, not just the cool explosion at the end, but the whole buildup and how you're doing this in every single way. I want to propose a question to people, and I'll dive into the stats a little bit more over the weekend and maybe revisit this question. But on the live show, let me ask you this. Which was a worse beatdown? Which was a bigger win? The Alabama game or the Oregon game? Indiana beat Alabama 38-3. You beat Oregon 56-22. As crazy as it sounds, I think I picked tonight. I think tonight's the bigger win. I think tonight was the bigger statement, if you will, for Indiana. Because of the semifinals and the rematch against Oregon and a Big Ten competition, and you just bullied them for 4 quarters. And it wasn't even close. And the fact that you started it off with a pick 6 off the freaking rip, man. It was this game. Yeah, I think I'm running with that. Locking in my answer. Tonight was the bigger win. Tonight was the more impressive win. Tonight was obviously, in terms of the stakes, was the more important win, but they're all important at this point. And now Indiana has a chance to be the first team in the history of college football to be 16-0 at the end of the season. We'll talk about Miami in just a moment. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll get to them in just a moment. Any significant injuries? Got to just get the latest updates on Charlie Becker, right? Got to make sure that he's going to be good to go in the next week and a half or so. I've seen people start to say this. Cignetti, that's awesome. Love it, Cignetti. I had not heard that until tonight, but that's incredible. Work to do, though, folks. Work to do. We'll talk Miami, I promise. But look at this. If this doesn't get you fired up, man, if this doesn't make you feel good, if you're a non-Hoosier in this call or in this show right now, read this from Kevin. Kevin O'Connor says, I'm 50, meaning 50 years old. Been to 100 football games. I've never felt like I do right now. This team is special. We talked about this after the Big Ten championship game. We talked about this after the Rose Bowl, and we're having this same conversation after the Peach Bowl. We're changing. Indiana's changing lives, folks. Indiana is one of the largest fan bases and alumni bases in the world. And it's a large alumni and fan base that had just They didn't even give up on football. Guys, they were never in on football. And now they are. We have people, myself included, we're feeling feelings that we've never felt before. Do you know how weird and awkward that is, especially as adults? It's not normal, right? And we're so connected to our teams and our brands and our logos and our colors and the tradition. And now we have something brand spanking new from 25 to 26 and even before then when Cignetti got here. It's special, man. It's absolutely special. So, I mean, I would love to say belt to you know what, but I'm afraid YouTube might demonetize it or something. I don't know. So belt to butt, I guess, is the best way. Just spanked. I mean, just let them have it for 4 quarters. And I don't think it ever gets old. Does it ever? I don't know. Talk to somebody, get Nick Saban on the phone and ask him when Alabama was doing this to teams in the regular season and just dominating in postseason games. Does it ever get old, or do you enjoy it forever? I'm having a pretty good time right now, but again, work to do against Miami. Looking through some more of your comments. Yeah, Becker did come in and run a few plays. We'll see. Yeah, here we go. We'll see what his status is long-term. The ankle, leg kind of stuff, it could be tricky, right? It could absolutely be tricky. So, yeah, I'm at a loss for words. I'm trying to say what fans can say. I hope so. I'm trying. I hope I'm doing an okay job. It's just speechless at times. I get on a roll and then you think about it and you sit back and I look at the score and the final stat sheet over here, and I've just never seen anything like it. It gets you emotional, man. It really does. It gets you emotional for the run that Indiana's on. And I said earlier, I debunked that it's not a run. It's real. It's legit. This is not fake. This is not a dream. This is legit. This is serious. And we're talking about the verge of the greatest season that's ever been in college football. So, more comments. I see some Ducks fans in here. I appreciate you guys tuning in as well. Great season for the Oregon Ducks. I'm not saying that in the condescending way of great game, great year, you'll get them next time. I'm not saying that. Oregon is legit. And I think Dan Lanning's one of the best coaches in the country. He's one of my favorites in all of college football. He is. And Dante Moore is a solid quarterback. I can't wait to see what he does with his NFL career, with his college career, what he decides to do. That is a tough way to lose a season, though. But I guess Oregon can call Alabama and see how they're feeling. This comment may win. This might be a winner, Grant. He said, PETA is not happy. You can't treat Ducks like that. Yeah, I said it was illegal and possibly cannibalism because you did it to your own in your conference. But, yeah, I didn't think about animal abuse. Ooh. I mean, it was a bison versus a duck. What'd you expect? Come on. What'd we expect? Indiana was going to win the whole time. And now, I'm sorry, who do you play next? You play Miami, right? Those are Hurricanes, right? Does anybody remember what their mascot looks like? Anybody remember what that sucker looks like? Funny, huh? Indiana gets the Hurricanes coming up in the national championship. Okay. Continuing likes and dislikes, reading through a bunch of your comments. We're going to talk Miami in just a minute. Drop your thoughts on how you feel about Miami. Do we have an early betting line on that? Let me pull up our good friends over at FanDuel again. Be sure you check them out, especially with the NFL playoff games coming up tomorrow, Sunday and Monday. All right, I'm pulling it up as we speak. Let's see what the initial betting line, and I didn't look at this as soon as it opened if it's already out there, so it may have already changed. Holy smokes. Wow. Okay. If you haven't looked, let's play a fun game. If you haven't looked and checked with our friends at FanDuel, yes, this is also true. Picking against Indiana is just stupid. I totally agree. If you have not looked already at FanDuel on what the opening line is for Indiana, Miami in the national championship game, drop your guesses. There's 300 of you in here. Drop your guesses on what you think the spread is for Indiana versus Miami in the national championship game. It's not as crazy as some of you might predict, but it's more than what I thought for a natty. It's more than what I thought for a national championship game. Even with, I guess, Indiana's just dominance of Oregon, Hoosiers favored by 7.5. 7.5 opened up in the national championship game. It's not bad. You get Indiana with the hook. You can get them at a touchdown. That's not terrible. Shows how damn good Indiana is. And Miami's solid. I mean, God, where would we rank the Miami defense? Where would we rank the Miami defense in college football? Between their secondary and their defensive line, Indiana's not scared. I can promise you that. Indiana's not worried. That's all we heard about with Illinois. That's all we heard about with Iowa. That's all we heard about with Penn State. That's all we heard about with Oregon. We heard about it with Ohio State. We heard about it with Alabama. And we heard about it with Oregon again. Indiana has the best defense in the country. And Miami very well might be too. It doesn't matter. Indiana, I've never seen an offense run so smoothly and just not stress and not just doesn't screw up. That's what I said earlier. Like, they simply just don't mess up. But let's talk Miami for a minute. Okay, let's talk about the matchup. Again, we're going to do so much more deep diving in shows and episodes, trying to do some crossovers and things here on Locked On to get you ready for the national championship game coming up in about 10 days' time. But, I mean, I'm not scared. I'm not worried. I'm very confident, and for good reason. Do you understand that Indiana's 15-0 right now? 15-0. It's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. 7.5 spread. Total sits at 48.5. And I don't think, no, I haven't. I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about my thoughts on the game last night in the college football playoff. Shout out to Miami for winning that, by the way. Ole Miss looks solid. Pretty big middle finger to Lane Kiffin, even though they lost. They still should tell him to kick rocks. But Miami pulls it out, right? They pull it out 31-27. Carson Beck looked good again. He did throw a pick finally. Was waiting on that. He finally did that. But they come back and win it. Ole Miss had every chance down the stretch, but given how those two teams looked last night, it didn't matter. I said, I did a radio hit this morning in Columbus, Ohio. I said the winner of tonight's game would win the national championship, knowing that it was Miami waiting for them. And that definitely is the case now. Like, I'm predicting Indiana to win it all. We'll dive deeper into it. Miami has a great defense. Carson Beck is great. Well, he's good, not great. That's what I'll say. He's good, not great. But when's the last time he got sacked 4 or 5 times in a game? When's the last time he got pressured and hurried 10 times in a game and was really off of his game? The highs are great with Carson Beck at Miami. The lows are terrible. The lows are horrible with him at Miami. And so I think Indiana will have the upper hand in just about every single position. I think I see somebody talk about the trenches. I think Indiana's better. I think Indiana's offensive line is playing on such a string right now that it's almost laughable, right? It's laughable. And there has yet to be an offensive line this year that has stopped Indiana. Not one. Not the defensive line, not the linebackers, not the blitzing safeties or corners or whatever. Nobody has been able to stop the Indiana defense getting pressure on quarterbacks. And Miami can run the ball pretty well. They did against Ole Miss for sure. Rebels defense is terrible. That secondary for Ole Miss was garbage. Sorry, it was. And I think Indiana favored again. 7.5 is what FanDuel says right now for Indiana against Miami. Let's see a confidence meter in the comments. So let me know if you're an Indiana fan or if you're not. I know there's several of you who are not, and that's all right. That's cool. We accept all here. That's fine. How we feeling coming off this win, right? And I don't want to wish away this win tonight. And enjoy this. Indiana should enjoy this too. They absolutely should. But now you get to turn your focus to the national championship game. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be awesome. I feel good. I feel really good about it. And I can't wait to really start, like I said, diving into, how about that stat? Nice. Good find. Good find. Indiana 7th in total offense. I can't believe it's not higher. Miami is 40th. Now do total defense and compare the two. One's going to come out on top, I think. So Indiana should have lost to Penn State, but guess what? They didn't. They have not lost since technically, no, it was last year. Yeah, it was, no. They lost to Notre Dame in the college football playoff, and then they haven't lost since. And, just crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. I did see a little something about this. I don't know if that's official or not. I don't know if that's something big or that's just kind of like a little shakeup or something on Boykin. So we'll get some updates on that. Good news is, all right, as we got to wind down here on this live show again, thank you so much. We've had 300 strong hanging out all night long. Good news is you have 10 days. You have a week from this coming Monday to get right. You're going to get back to Bloomington, probably take the weekend off, get back into your rhythm, and treat it as close to a normal game week as you can. And we should have the utmost confidence in Cignetti in preparation, in scheduling, in routine. All of that is going to stay the same as much as possible, and nobody will be more prepared than him and his staff. And so gives you a chance to get healthy, gives you a chance to get, oh my God, that's fantastic. Have I stressed, it says Oregon football equals Gonzaga basketball. Have I ever, sorry to just completely go squirrel and find a YouTube comment. Have I ever voiced my opinions about Gonzaga on this show? I know I've done it on the radio, but I don't know if I've done it on this podcast. That's a story for a different time, but that's a really good comment. I really like that. Anyways, Indiana will have time to get right, do what they need to do, prepare for Miami, and they're going to be just fine. And so this is awesome. Enjoy this. I know I said it after the Big Ten championship game. I said it after the Rose Bowl, and you best believe I'm going to say it after the Peach Bowl as well. Enjoy this, Indiana fans. And anybody that's mad about it, anybody that is upset about it, anybody that hates on this story, anybody that hates on this team, they're a miserable person. That's how I feel about it. Because their team isn't good. Their team lost at some point or didn't get anywhere close to the college football playoff, and they're jealous. They're jealous because Indiana figured out the new system, the new way of college football, and their team simply hasn't. This is the greatest story we've ever seen. The greatest story we have ever seen. And we have one more ride, one more chance to see them. God, that makes me emotional thinking we only have one more game to watch for this Indiana team. Very blessed and excited for the national championship game against Miami. But God, even win or lose, that's going to be sad and I hadn't thought about it that way, to see this team end one way or the other, either into the sunset or in depression. I mean, one more game, one more ride. Let's see what happens. It's the Hoosiers and the Canes, Indiana and Miami in the national championship game. But Indiana, they remain the king of college football tonight. 56-22 final score. Hoosiers take down the Ducks in the Peach Bowl. Oh, man. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun, man. I'm so blessed to do what I do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this show. Thank you for tuning in, engaging. Oh, I see you, Craig. I see you, Craig. Hoosiers. I see you, baby, in there. Go check out Locked On Big Ten. He does a fantastic job. Does the IU grad, Mr. Craig, over at Locked On Big Ten. Go check him out. He does fantastic work. And so, we got to talk about NIL stuff. We got to talk transfer portal stuff. We got to talk a national championship game. You better be subscribed to the channel. That's all I'm saying. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on your audio podcasting platforms as well, so you can never miss an episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Who knows what's going to happen over the weekend with the portal when Cignetti and company get back in town. Last Sunday, it was 7 or 8 guys that signed with Indiana through the transfer portal. Let's have another weekend like that. That'd be cool, right? Watching NFL playoff games and just doing show after show after show, talking about the Hoosiers in the transfer portal. So again, thank you so much for being here. Truly just enjoying the ride, and you should too. Smell the roses, or whatever the phrase is. Just be where your feet are. That's what I tell you. Be where your feet are. Enjoy this moment for Indiana as you are Peach Bowl winners, Peach Bowl champions, and you're moving on to the national championship game. 56-22 final score. You take down the Ducks. It's Indiana and Miami in the national championship game. We'll have all sorts of coverage for you here on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here. Thanks to FanDuel for the sponsor for this live show today. And we are back for a normal episode on Monday, right? Because again, for those of you here that are new, we post shows every single day, Monday through Friday, 25 to 30 minutes a day, plus a ton of bonus content like live shows and breaking news shows and things like that. And so I can promise you we're back on Monday, but we very well could be back before then if news breaks. We'll have all that for you on Locked On Hoosiers. So again, thank you so much. Enjoy the evening, and the Hoosiers are one game away from a national title. We are back on Monday, Hoosier fans, for a normal episode of breaking news this weekend. You just never know. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.